Hi there, I'm Justin Pritchard and I have a question for you. How often do you drive more than about 70 kilometers or so before returning home to park your car? Because if the answer is fairly often, well, the car I'm about to show you in this video could get you almost totally off of gasoline. This is the Honda Clarity. Life is cruel sometimes, and this car proves the point. Of all the plug-in hybrids I've driven so far, this is the one I'd be most tempted to spend my own money on because of how it functions and drives, but I don't know if I could handle that styling on a long-term basis. Of course, the look of the Clarity is all about aerodynamics and not sexiness. And we drove this plug-in hybrid 5 Series a few weeks back and it looks great, but it doesn't go nearly as far on its battery and it costs something like twice as much. I've recently been reporting on plenty of plug-in hybrids like these and have come to really enjoy them. They're quiet and smooth and relaxing, and more than that, they mean I have to spend a lot less time doing this. Clarity gives drivers about 70 kilometers of all-electric range on a charged battery before it needs to use any fuel. For most of us, that's more than enough to handle the daily commute or errands and get back home to plug it in. If you live 35 kilometers or less from where you work, you would be basically off of gasoline for your commute. And if you can recharge at work, then that distance doubles, 70 kilometers each way, no fuel. And if you want to drive across the province, well, there's a gas engine for that. Once your initial 70 kilometers of battery driving range is used up, then it automatically and uneventfully turns on, and you just keep on going. With a full battery and a full gas tank, you're good for over 550 kilometers of driving, and you never have to plug it in and wait for it to charge up if you don't want to. In very oversimplified terms, it is like an electric car with a gasoline backup. You are off of gasoline for shorter trips, and you're clear for longer ones using tiny amounts of gas. And thanks to the full-function gas engine, you never ever have to stop and plug this car in and wait around for it to recharge unless it's convenient for you to do so. So if a fully electric car isn't for you, this might be the next best thing. Charging is easy, just open this, stick this in here, and on 120 volt power, it's charged from empty in 12 hours. If you've got a 240 volt level 2 charger like mine, that drops to less than 3. And don't go thinking it's slouchy on performance either. With 212 combined horsepower and immediate electric motor torque at your service, it has more sauce than a Civic Si, and it moves along just fine. Around town, running on electricity, Clarity's driveline is smoother and quieter than anything I've ever driven with a gas engine, including virtually any six-figure luxury car. Thank the electrification. This makes it a very relaxing thing to drive. Throttle response is good but noiseless thanks again to that electric motor. It rides nicely, firm, dense, substantial, well-tuned suspension. Rough roads don't upset the composure much, and I would happily tell you the ride is often on par with something like an entry-level Lexus or Audi. The steering has little feel, but it's light as a feather and will cause you no stress. And cruising the highway, it's comfy and mostly quiet, and expert at seeing you arrive where you're going hours later feeling relaxed. This is the touring trim grade, and that's appropriate because if you want to use very little fuel and be pretty darn comfy while touring around, this is what you want. On board, an upscale and distinctive take on Honda's typical interior design language, there's a floating center console with a high-tech push-button gear shifter, wood accenting, and a unique suede-trimmed dashboard. Heated leather, it manages a more unique and upscale look on board than you might expect. Storage to spare for front seat occupants, typical Honda here, deep cup holders, a big center console bin, door pockets, and the like. Charging ports galore too. I found no issues with space at any seat. Entry and exit are easy peasy, and you should have no issues with room for 4 average size adults. Rear seats are adult friendly, and there's even this handy pocket built into the seat backs as a place to put your smartphone. The trunk is probably going to be big enough for whatever you're bringing along for the ride, though it is awkwardly shaped thanks to the great big battery packed in underneath it. That does have to go somewhere after all. Elsewhere, former owners of recent Honda models will be familiar with most of the controls and interfaces and switchgear on board. The on-screen infotainment system has some additional displays that you can summon to monitor the currently deployed blend of gas and volts driving the Clarity's front wheels. And the instrument cluster is slick, very informative, and front and center is a power gauge that sort of engages you with how the hybrid system is working, and it can even coach you to make better use of it to save more fuel or go further on a charge or tank. These controls ahead of the shifter put you in charge of the Clarity's charge. By default, it drives on electric power first, and then gas-electric hybrid power with the gasoline engine engaged after. If you like, press HV, that's hybrid vehicle, to start off in gasoline hybrid mode, which will save your stored battery range for later if you like. There's a sport mode, which rejiggers things for added throttle response and torque, and an econ mode, which does the opposite, reducing throttle response and making other tweaks that help you drive more efficiently. So what you have here is a sort of technological toolkit for very high efficiency motoring, and a control panel that lets you use those tools however you like. There's Apple CarPlay and Android Auto because everybody wants that. Honda's side view lane change camera is slick and useful even if I wish for better graphics, and the full complement of Honda's latest and advanced safety tech is also on board, including radar cruise and lane assist and forward collision alert. What I'm trying to leave you with here is simple. Despite its weird looks and cutting-edge plug-in hybrid powertrain, this is, by all accounts, just a regular car that works and drives and rides and functions like a regular car, and a regular car that has a nice cabin and a nice ride. So the only thing you have to do differently is plug it in whenever it's convenient for you to do so. Complaints? Yes, there are a few. First and foremost, in the scorching summer heat, the eco-friendly air conditioner takes longer than you will probably like to get the cabin nice and cool. It can take a few minutes instead of a few seconds to get that initial cool breeze to arrive. Second, the infotainment system is disappointing at best. It works fine and is easy to use, though there's no volume knob, it's this touch thing instead, and the dull Super Nintendo graphics are not up to snuff with the Clarity's price tag. Finally, and again, unless you literally don't care what your car looks like or happen to find this attractive, the styling will not likely be your cup of tea. Looks are not why you buy a car like this, but they are why many people decide on the car they pick, so you'll have to make that assessment for yourself.
There is just one other problem, and that might be finding one of these to test drive or to buy if you're interested. As I stand here in summertime 2019 model year Honda Clarities have sold out across Canada, so expect a bit of a wait. But for more shoppers than ever these days, that wait might be worth it, especially for those who want to start fueling up a few times a year instead of a few times a month, depending on where and how you drive. If the Clarity's price tag of about 40 grand or 44 for my touring grade tester is within your means, I'd really encourage you to try one out if you can track one down. I'm Justin Pritchard.